Welcome to the Good Divorce Show. Not every divorce needs to end in disaster. It's time to see divorce in another perspective. Here to help with that is your host, Karen McNinney.
Hello, I'm your Good Divorce coach, Karen McNinney, chatting here today with yet another survivor of a good, I might even say great divorce, Aimee McQuilken. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Karen. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I really appreciate you opening up your story. And it's interesting, every time I bump into you or we talk about divorce, we both end up smiling. And not because we're pro-divorce, but because we are wanting to help other people find the good path through divorce. And would you say that indeed you and your former husband have done that?
100%.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I suspect, like most of us, there's that sort of impossible purgatory period when we think about the before the divorce process happens. There's always a moment before. What would you say to the people who are like, oh, that's just an easy choice. They're just taking the easy way out, pulling the parachute, and off they go.
Oh, no, there's no easy choice. There was just as much hard work being put into saving the marriage as there was to planning a wedding.
Right.
I mean, it was a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did marriage counseling. I went to my own therapist for the first time in my life, something that I kind of pushed off, thought I didn't need, didn't grow up in an environment where anyone did that. You know what? I found out I loved it.
Yes.
I loved therapy. I loved couples therapy too. I was actually excited when we finally decided to dissolve our marriage that I could be friends with my therapist. She wasn't my therapist anymore.
Break down those barriers. It's interesting. And I've heard you mention it and others say that sometimes in that couples counseling and that time where we sort of are anticipating there might be an end, we begin doing all these repairs, these little micro actions to improve the marriage. It is kind of like the selling of the house, right?
Yes. Like you want to put your house on the market. You finally replace the gross screen door. You paint the kitchen. You put outlet covers on, and you're like, why didn't I do this while I lived in it? This is so great. And it was so easy. And I just put it off, and it was the same. I mean, there was so many discussions that we had in therapy that it was a shame that we didn't do it earlier.
But I do believe that there are things that we learn in our divorce process that then carry over into that divorced relationship. And many people lose sight that, oh, you're going to not be married anymore, but you're still totally in a relationship with each other.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like we're more sensitive to each other now and more gracious and say the words that maybe nobody else will say because we've had the longest relationship with each other thus far in our lives,
Yeah, give us
own parents.
Give us a little bit of that backstory.
So Matt and I met in college here in Missoula, Montana. We started dating, I think, I was 20, he was 21. And we dated for 2.5 years before the year 2000 when we got married, bought a house, and had a baby.
Well, trifecta. Talk about a millennial. Welcome to the new year. My goodness. And that baby is now 22.
Yes, correct.
And there is yet another child in the family.
Correct. Macy is 18.
Mm-hmm.
She turned 18 last month. She also graduated from high school earlier. And just a few weeks ago, she moved out of the house. So I am sitting in an empty house right now. First time ever in my life. I am about to be 46 that I've ever lived alone.
Wow.
It's kind of amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Right. And really valuable. It's really useful to build a relationship with ourselves and to really fall in love with ourselves before we go out there and start falling in love with other people. But most of us, myself included, skip over that part.
We do. We skip that. I mean, I went from living in my family home, to a dorm, to roommates, to boyfriend, to marriage. And then, after marriage, living with my children who were teenagers, and all through that, you're right. Did I know myself? Did I love myself? Did I ever once spend time searching for my own needs? I didn't.
Well, I want to say congratulations. You've been divorced now 5 years. Did the mantra of stay for the kids, wait to launch the kids, did that cross your mind? Was it talked about explicitly or implicitly?
Absolutely. I think, I think that for Matt, who initiated the divorce process, who one day, told me he didn't want to be married to me anymore. And that there was 6 months after that until he moved out, 6 months where we worked on it and tried. And Matt is an amazing father, an amazing parent. I can't imagine how much before that point he was thinking that, but it was the children that, we were both holding on for. We both came from divorced households. His parents had a very messy divorce, traumatizing divorce, I will say. And mine, divorced so young, I didn't even remember living in a house with a mom and a dad. I was stigmatized a little bit. That was the 80s. I remember a birthday party where some friends couldn't come because there wasn't a dad on the camping trip.
Wow.
But more times now that I'm on the other side and I look back, I remember such great times with my mom. Just like my mom and my sister and I. So yes, we did not want to walk the path that our parents walked. We didn't think we would. Do we ever think we will?
And you have begun to change the pattern from the two of you and your own child of divorce experience. And I hear this again and again, kids of the 70s and 80s who were the first of the, what started to become a more common occurrence, but was still an outlier. Knowing what you know now, would you have waited for both of your children to launch and graduate? Or how do you think this has affected the family?
No, not at all. No, because the last 5 years with my daughters have just been magical. And it's been hard for them to go back and forth between two households. Absolutely. But the divorce made us talk so much more about our emotions and relationships than we ever did. And I just remember, a typical night at our house would be, I'd come home from work and Matt would have dinner going and, a glass of wine waiting there. And I'd hang out in the kitchen and just talk with him about whatever. And the girls would just be off doing their things. And we'd come together for dinner and then we'd all go apart again. And, as a mom, I was really dividing my time, between my husband, who I loved to be with, and my kids. And sure, we were all together, but it really was, it was split a little bit. And coming home and cooking with my kids and deciding what we wanted to do, even if it didn't involve cooking. We're going to eat blueberries for, in front of the TV for dinner tonight. Or we're not even going to eat dinner, or we're going to eat it at midnight. Or, it was so great. And those years, these high school years with them as a single parent were wonderful. And did I think that in the purgatory days? No.
What were you thinking?
I was clinging to the story that I had told myself was my story. And a lot of us could probably relate to that. And I do this in many parts of my life. I attach to outcome, and it's really hard to let go and change paths because I only saw my life as one way. And this did not fall into my story. And nor was it my idea. And I also am a bossy person who likes to make choices and guide. And I would say I was definitely like the leader of our family in many ways, though we were a very good partnership. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to destroy our children. We're going to lose our house. Like I don't even know. I don't even have a credit card. Like, I don't know how to change the tire. You've cooked dinner for me for the last 20 years. I don't know how to cook. Like, really, it was ridiculous where my brain went. It was that primitive monkey brain that was telling me I basically wasn't going to survive. And it was the opposite.
Wow. But I also want to remind our listeners that not only did you and Matt bring children into this world, and then we're sort of negotiating their lives, but you had also built businesses together, had real estate. Give us a little bit of that backstory as well, because I'm sure there's other people who see themselves not only entangled in the house, but in many other factions of their life.
Matt and we still are very involved in our community, in our small mountain town. Without him, I never would have been able to open my shop. I have a clothing store called Betty's Divine. It's been open for 18 years. I mean, he was my backbone. He held down a job he didn't like, that held health insurance. So our kids and the four of us could have that. So I could pursue my dreams. And then once I was up and going, he pursued his and opened Black Coffee Roasting Company in 2010. And we were, entrepreneur. We were this like iconic entrepreneur couple in Missoula. We had actually just finished recording like the radio call out on Montana Public Radio together as a couple right before we decided to get a divorce. This is Aimee McQuilken and Matt McQuilken. So we had to untangle so much.
That moment when you have to start telling, when you choose to start telling, in particular, your children. And you've identified that was one of the easiest / hardest conversations. Tell me what that conversation looked like.
It was the first one. The first thing we had to they had to hear it from us.
Yes.
And Quinn is our
You did it together. You sat down together. Did you talk before you sat down with the kids what you were going to talk about? Like, did you have a dry run, a rehearsal?
No, we didn't rehearse. And it was just a cry fest. I mean, as I just kind of cleaned up Macy's room because she just moved out. I mean, I'm going to cry. Memories of laying in her bed, all four of us.
Because you're still in the family home. So those memories are embedded there.
Oh, yes. I think a lot of times people think that the one who keeps the home is the easy, that's the easy route, but it's definitely harder because you have the memories. Oh, okay. Anyway, we told Quinn first. Quinn is just, she was older and she had sensed things were off and very intuitive, very emotional, very connected. So she was Quinn. Quinn, it wasn't a big surprise telling her, and she took it with grace and courage. And we were, the three of us were nervous to tell Macy. And really it was tears and hugs and just reassurance that we were all still a family.
Right. It is a family. And
it was just going to look different.
It was going to look different. As I remind our listeners, we can be one family that lives in two homes. We do not have to throw out all of the gold when we dump the pan, right?
Oh, yes.
There's a love story in there. There's businesses, there's pets and animals and children. Yeah. And it's interesting you identifying this family home differently. You're still in the family home today?
I love my home. And I ran into kind of the same things. It was a lot of upkeep, a big house. And so one of the first things I did was I reconverted the basement back into the apartment that it was when we first bought this house. And that was great on multiple levels. I mean, to share my space with people and to add to my income and help with the mortgage.
I did the same thing. That basement became a rental unit.
It's so smart. And that allowed me to stay in this place that I love.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. But the memories, the memories were, good on sometimes and hard on others, but I was all right with them. It was shocking to me, actually, that Matt when he moved out, he took hardly anything. And I'm just not that way. And it kind of actually made me realize that it was me maybe that was building the home. And maybe I never gave him an opportunity to do that. And that was maybe part of what led to it. I don't know. I hear about this happening with other people too. Like one just leaves and it sounds harder. I was like, oh gosh, really? You're going to buy like all new cast iron? Like we season that cast iron, or you don't have to take this like crappy lawnmower. I don't want to, I felt like I felt gifted and burdened all at the same time. But I think in the end, it was probably really nice for him to have a fresh start and not have the memories. And Matt is a way more emotionally, his emotions are out and on the table. And I think he needed that more than I did.
A fresh start.
But it was incredible. I actually it was just, okay, so 5 years we've been divorced. It was just like 2 years ago that I actually bought new sheets. I was like, what am I doing?
Oh, honey, that should be one of the first things to just cleanse.
And that process actually, it continues, is what you realize. It continues. Right. And I'll still find things where I'm like, oh, this was your grandmother's. You would probably want this, or, and it just, it's a process. I mean, the first thing I did, I think, was I took my wedding ring off and I threw it in the field.
And how did that feel, Aimee?
Great. It felt great.
Yeah, a release. Do you think it's still out there?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to hear more about how Aimee and Matt moved through the arduous, difficult, complicated process for most people as they go through divorce. But these two project managers, they found their own way. Stay tuned to The Good Divorce Show.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN.
Before you call the lawyer, call the Good Divorce Coach. Give your family the gift of working with a certified divorce coach, a co-parenting specialist, and a mediator. Karen McNinney has the knowledge and skills to guide you through the full divorce journey, before, during, and after. It's one thing to get divorced. It's another to be divorced. The Good Divorce Coach will teach you and your partner how to be divorced with less drama, less destruction, and less debt. Visit thegooddivorcecoach.com to get in touch with Karen.
Voice America programs are now available on your favorite connected device, including Amazon, Alexa, and Google Home. Through streams with Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio, listening to your favorite show is as easy as saying the show name followed by the word podcast.
Hey, Alexa, play Finding Your Frequency podcast.
If that doesn't work, try adding on TuneIn or on iHeartRadio or on Apple Podcasts.
Streaming live, the leader in Internet talk radio, VoiceAmerica.com.
Welcome back to The Good Divorce Show with Karen McNinney. Have a question for Karen or her guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5788. That's 866-472-5788. Now, back to the show with Karen.
Hello and welcome back to The Good Divorce Show. Chatting today with Aimee McQuilken, local business owner, entrepreneur, divorcee with a smile on her face. But it was not always that way, Aimee, right?
Oh my gosh, I cried more tears in that year than I've ever cried ever. Oh.
And if you were to identify sort of the root of those strong emotions, where would it lead you? Is it sadness? Is it pain? Is it regret?
Yeah. Regret, for sure. because as soon as I realized the seriousness of it, I was like, yes, yep, counseling, where I had never been interested before. And yeah, too little, too late at that point. So definitely regret. I felt like I took a lot of it on personally. And a big part of my healing was detaching from that and realizing that it really, the reasons weren't me.
You don't get all the credit or all the blame.
Exactly. And
Amen.
so there was a lot of taking it on and feeling like it was my fault, and feeling like that I would never love again. And that was the love of my life and the partnership of my life. And the only person, Matt and I, like I said before, we built businesses together. We remodeled houses together. We were so good at running a canoe down a river. Man, we could do it without arguing on like nobody. We're great partners in so many ways. And
did you approach your divorce in a similar way then?
Yes, we were so good at our divorce.
Was it project management 101?
Yes. Our mediator just was floored. She was like, "Are you guys sure?" But I felt like I could never find that in anyone else again. So there was that, there was grief. It was like death. Yeah, death. Yes. Of a loved one, death of, an end of a major part of life was happening. And so now I look back, I'm like, oh, I was grieving, and that was all right and good. And
the only way through it.
There was anger that because it wasn't my initiation. And it took me a couple years to like hug Matt and thank him. I remember we spent a Thanksgiving together, all of us at Chico, stayed in a loft, the four
as
of
a
us.
family,
been
just
divorced.
the four of you.
No, to another family that we'd always vacation with, all of us together. And I remember hugging him that night and thanking him for the courage he had to initiate the divorce. Because he was right. There was passion missing. There was just more that we wanted, and that, we didn't need to settle for. And the reality is we still have that partnership in so many ways with our children. And we will always, our friends will be going through hardships, and we'll call each other and talk about it. We still have that, but it was like the disentangling of the habit of being together, of always having that partner to go to the fundraiser with you, to go out to dinner, to see the movie, to travel with, or to do adventures with. And suddenly I felt like I had nobody.
Yes. It's almost, sometimes I think of it like a phantom pain. And I'm not an amputee, but it feels like part of your life has been amputated, but sometimes you feel it. The absence of it is so painful. It could be a little intact family at a park that would just drop me to my knees.
Oh, same. Oh my gosh. And I remember saying to Matt so many times, like, I feel broken. And he was like, "You're not broken." And he was right. I wasn't, but I am a very optimistic, positive person. And suddenly, I just wasn't myself at all.
Yeah.
At all.
And so the two of you, you come to this decision. Walk us through a little bit of the micro decisions of mediation. We have these businesses, right? There's the being divorced, but there is just the getting divorced, and you had assets. Was that work that you did on your own around the kitchen table? Did you have a professional who had to really navigate conflict between the two of you?
We didn't really discuss any of those things. Matt just let it. He was like, I don't want to fight, and I want this to be good. And I have visions of us, having dinner together in the future. And so we kept that in our forefront the whole time. And even though each of us individually in our brains was like probably being petty and thinking about things like, time with the kids and the pets and the cars and everything, we stuck straight with emotions and feelings. And it wasn't until We met with a mediator. We were given the name of a mediator. We wanted to go that route. We were in the room together. We came with all of our stuff and just like everything out on the table. And we didn't know how the Montana law worked. We didn't know that we each had our own businesses, but we didn't know that really, gosh, we actually, after the mediation, we were like, you could really be horrible. Like, I can see why people do this. Like there's all these opportunities, like where you could just not have grace and really go after each other. But fortunately, we had agreed going in that that's where we would be. And we learned it. I mean, we didn't know the opportunities that we had for each other until the mediator let us know.
Right. And this is, I think, one of the challenges with divorce living inside the legal system that is built when there's adversaries and you're fighting over something, which that exists and we should have that system. But now these families get thrown into that system. And if you're not cautious, those lawyers can hijack your story.
Yes. And yes, absolutely. And I actually have told friends who are having a hard time and, with their marriages and hold on, because maybe they've been the, caretaker of the children and, have put aside their career and didn't have their own business like I did, like didn't have these things and thought there's no way I could get a divorce, and I'd be like, listen up. Actually, you both you own everything equally. And you have an equal right, even though, maybe his name's in the house. Like, anyway, I won't talk about that. I'll talk about our story. So we went in there, just with grace and respect for each other. And even though Matt had, he was 50-50 in my business, which we started together at first. And then also 50-50 in my building, which I had just bought, not with either of our assets on the line or any of our joined money down. It was a grant opportunity that I pursued. And we both knew that. We both knew that both of us had our own things and we respected that. And fortunately, we dissolved it. Neither of us laid claim to either of the other's things, businesses. I wanted the house. And fortunately, when I started my business in 2005, I had this wonderful bookkeeper / financial advisor who first year was like, we're setting up a retirement plan and you're going to put this much in it. And that was really hard. It was really hard for me. Like I was just like scrambling to make payroll to do that. And I thanked her in my dreams every night during this dissolution, because if I didn't have that retirement built up for all those years, I wouldn't have had any way to buy Matt out of the half of the house that I needed to offer him in order to keep the house. I mean, so, you hear the stories of like people have to sell the house because no one can buy the other person out.
Right.
And, she guided me really well that I had that opportunity to do that. And it worked that I wanted it and he didn't.
Yes. And you were talking about the distinction also in this process of, I've always felt there is a different experience for the person who chooses to leave and the person who has been left. And it sounds like he brought a certain amount of grace to that as well. And knowing his train was maybe a little further down the track and you were catching up to that reality.
Yes, that is it exactly. I mean, he, I later kind of put it together. He was saving for moving out and, he was preparing for it and to do it kindly. And, that has kept with us this whole time, that like respect and just like, I won't leave you. I won't leave you without, your needs, but I also can't continue living this way. And again, why I hugged him and thanked him that night. It took me a long time to get to that point, because he kept that high standard throughout.
What an act of grace and kindness and compassion, which sounds ironic when you talk about the person who chose to leave our marriage, but we can do it with grace and compassion. And to know that Well, I've heard it said, how we begin is often how we end. And having that ending in place, you're saying we want to be able to go to Chico Hot Springs together and vacation as a family, not as married folk, but as a family. And if you don't blow all that up during the divorce process, then you have the hope of still enjoying the context of family. And that may not be for everybody, but listeners, you'd be surprised. And I will be talking to everyone I can find who still embraces their family and finds the moments to celebrate, their children. And it sounds like that's what you and Matt did. You really put your children at the center of your decision making.
Yes, because it was the hardest to tell them and to disrupt their lives as we did. Like, your parents are going to live in two different houses, same town. And actually, Matt lives less than a mile away, right up the road. But from the day he moved out, we had dinner every Wednesday, and that was our transition point with the kids. And we would do that by going out to dinner. And sometimes we would cook for each other at our houses. I remember he was excited to cook for me at his new house, to show me his new house. And if it weren't for COVID kind of making us kind of pull back into our little pods, I'm sure we would still be doing it to this
Beautiful.
Day. And it was easy because we had that habit. We were used to each other.
Sure. And that's it. There's things from the marriage and the intact single household family that you can carry on into this next chapter. I think people have this assumption that it all has to be flushed and everything's going to be decided by a judge. And I say, no, own your story, decide how you want your family to look, and then fight vigorously for that together.
Yes. And it's like with anything, any practice, as soon as you take a little break from it, it just kind of goes away. So my advice is yes, stay with it. Stay with it. COVID's a little bit of a,
there was a bump in the road.
Yes. But staying with it, it makes it just so easy. And it was so great for our kids to have that. That was a couple years, 2 years of nightly or weekly dinners together.
Yeah. Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to hear about the afterglow of this divorce experience and where you and Matt are, what happened to the businesses and the kids. Please, listeners, stay tuned as Aimee McQuilken walks us down the path of the afterglow of the great divorcee.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Before you call the lawyer, call the Good Divorce Coach. Give your family the gift of working with a certified divorce coach, a co-parenting specialist, and a mediator. Karen McNinney has the knowledge and skills to guide you through the full divorce journey, before, during, and after. It's one thing to get divorced. It's another to be divorced. The Good Divorce Coach will teach you and your partner how to be divorced with less drama, less destruction, and less debt. Visit thegooddivorcecoach.com to get in touch with Karen.
Have you become a member yet? Sign up now to become a member of Voice America. It's always free and easy. Plus, you get to take advantage of some great member benefits. Get unlimited access to millions of hours of on-demand content across all of our channels. Keep track of your favorite episodes, shows, and hosts in your own customizable library. Find out what shows you might be interested in based on your favorites. Plus, you get insider access with our newsletter. Membership gives you more. Sign up at voiceamerica.com and click register at the top right.
The Internet's #1 talk station. #1 talk station. VoiceAmerica.com.
Welcome back to the Good Divorce Show with Karen McNinney. Have a question for Karen or her guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5788. That's 866-472-5788. Now, back to the show with Karen.
Welcome back to the Good Divorce Show. So happy to be chatting today with Aimee McQuilken of the beautiful Rocky Mountain Northwest in Montana, business owner, mother of two now young adult women, and neighbor to your ex-husband. And not only neighbor, but this still friendship, partnership, almost a siblinghood, whatever category you would describe it as, I would be very clear, he is not your enemy.
That is very true.
Right. And there was a moment that the two of you shared. And again, people have brought children into their lives together and businesses, and we share home, and we also share then pets and animals. Give us a little bit of background on the journey of the pets of your family and what has transpired.
Yes. Well, actually, our dogs were going back and forth with our children immediately after the divorce. They also, were split household. And
did the children, was that a just a no-brainer? Of course, the dogs are sticking with the kids, and everyone was in agreement with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. They were just as much. I didn't want to be without them. We couldn't, there's no way we were going to separate them, No, it was a no-brainer. And the kids are out of the house, and the dog, our one old dog, she's just barely holding on. She's about 20. She still goes back and forth.
Oh, wow.
And I still we go into each other's houses to drop off the dog, communicate about her health. But our other dog, about this time last year, actually Matt was on spring break with the girls in Washington, and I took him in. I thought he had COVID. Actually, our dog, he was coughing, and I found out his chest was full of tumors. And we needed to put him down, and I called Matt and the girls, and they cut their trip short, actually, so that they could come home and spend time with him.
Yeah.
And it was Matt and I like to tell this story as if I was a passerby on one of the busy streets that goes through our town that would know us and think, wow, is that Matt and Aimee at that vet clinic on a blanket in the grass with a dog crying? I mean, we together, and it was, our vet it was COVID still, and people weren't going inside, and she had us. It was a beautiful day, and we were just on a blanket laying with our dog after she gave him the injection, and just crying together. Yeah,
because that probably made the most sense. Who else would share in that emotional experience more deeply than Matt?
Absolutely. He was the only person I wanted there. And same with him. And also, I mean, to be honest, when I think about it, some of the tears too were like another thread that held us together is now gone.
Right. Yeah. And celebrating those threads, your children, the pets, and that this person since college left such an imprint on your life. And, it's interesting as I think back even in my own journey of what life will look like. Have there been big surprises of where you thought what divorce would look like and what it now looks like that you never would have anticipated?
I'm laughing because, yes, it has not been at all what my panic brain told me it was going to be. And even though I grew up in a divorced household, it was different. I mean, my mom, my parents were divorced when I was young. And the hardest part of that for me was when my mom would bring somebody else into our lives, a boyfriend. And sometimes they were serious and sometimes not, because I relished the times when it was just my mom, my sister, and I. It was the best. My childhood was great living with a single parent. But it was hard when there was another guy to split, my mom's attention with, or we moved. My mom was married again, and I was in middle school, and we moved to a whole different town. We had to start over. I mean, it was just not great. And so I never wanted to do that with my kids. I wanted to because it was the same. I instantly went back, and I remember talking to my mom on the phone and my sister, and being like, gosh, we really had a great time, the three of us, like traveling together, camping together, road trips, going out to eat. It was like three gals, and that's kind of where Macy, Quinn, and I were again. The three of us together, it was so great.
It's something to be said for singular focus. And many of us divorcees are cautious about talking about the delightful parts of divorce and the benefits. And what I know is that when I'm with my children, I am with them.
Yeah.
It's not split focus, because there's this other part of my life where I can go scratch the itch of travel with girlfriends or projects on my own, right? There's this other capacity. Mm-hmm. And although we may not have the same quantity, we definitely have a richer quality to our relationship.
Absolutely, Karen. It's kind of ideal to have. And it was hard at first, being alone.
Oh gosh, yes.
The
silence.
And my friends are so lovely. Like, they would stay the night with me. Like,
yes,
they would just keep me busy. And then I just remember that first night alone with no pets, no kids. It was the worst.
The silence is deafening. Right? And I went on slumber parties too. I'm like, it's very different when you're choosing solitude actively. And when you feel like it's sort of thrust on you, and you again feel that sort of phantom pain of the silence of the house and the activity. And it's a light switch. It's busy and there's snacks and there's friends and there's dogs and chaos, and then bloop.
Yep. And there's people to cook for, and then no. Like, one of my favorite things was like single woman dinners. Like, I have a group of divorcee friends. We'll show each other pictures. It's like a loaf of bread and a bottle of wine.
Chips and salsa at the kitchen counter.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But then you that muscle grows, and you start to enjoy that time, that silence. And now 5 years in, and now it's like it all the time. It's not just half of the week, and my kids are out of the house. I feel so strong and independent and like confident in being with myself. And as you said, not being alone and not lonely. I love being alone in my house now. And it just the word, what I want to tell people is like that time does not last forever. That grief and that, pain and that sadness, it just does not last forever. And on the other side is actually this magical rainbow world that nobody talks about.
I refer to it as the divorgasmic stage. That there is something that feels really good about it. And we don't have to feel shameful about it. If we're doing it well, if we're being thoughtful about our new relationships, about the relationship with the other co-parent, our children, and indeed, your life has been blossoming and you're not technically alone anymore. Your mom, married, divorced, married again 3 times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Swinging door of people coming in and out of your life, her partners. So what was your intention, and what has it looked like as you invited new relationships and a dating experience into your life post-divorce?
Mm-hmm. I really didn't want it to look like that. Sorry, Mom. So I, about a year after, I reconnected with a man who Matt and I have both known. He was a friend of both of ours. And actually Matt repartnered as well with someone who we'd both gone to college with and both known. And we all actually spent Christmas together.
Oh my goodness. The new quartet, the ex-spouses, their new lovers, everyone gathered around the Christmas tree.
And the kids and the pets and their moms. And it was, I gotta say, the relief of having my ex mother-in-law, which once a mother-in-law, always a mother-in-law, like she will always, but suddenly she wasn't mine anymore, and I could leave at the end of the night. It was really
And did you all sincerely have a good experience together?
Again, COVID happened and all that practice was interrupted. And I want to say, yes, it's still continuing, but we've all kind of gone into our own spaces. But yeah, I walk into a restaurant and see Matt sitting at the bar eating, and I'll sit right next to him with whoever I'm with, even if I was with Leif. And actually, yes, our friends opened a restaurant, and on the soft opening, Leif and I were seated at a table right next to Matt and Candace.
Oh my goodness.
And actually our friends who owned it were like, oh, like kind of in the back, like, is this okay? We're like, it is fine. It is hilarious. It is great. Like,
I think so often we are the ones who have to train our friends and family. Like, please don't choose. Don't divide us. We're fine. You don't have to be all worked up about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they kind of project onto you what their fears are. You find you're like, wow, I could see where you would go, but no, this is not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Matt and I have both repartnered. Neither of us have chosen to move in with our partners.
Right.
And we both keep our day. We've kept our days with our children. Our days with our children,
Mm-hmm.
and really separated it. And it's not completely. It's not like they don't know. My kids don't know Leif or Candace. They do, but it's on a level where they know to us they're number one.
Right. And you've kept them in first position, and that you don't split your focus.
Right.
They know that you have love.
Which they're happy too, because so much of their hearts are like, they too are like, I don't want you to be alone when I'm with Dad. Like, they think about that. Like, it's amazing. We got in the habit, we would have this, it was Sundays. And every Sunday we would make Sundays, my girls and I, and sit on the back porch. And that was the opportunity to let out the thing that was bothering you. Or that was making you sad, or was making you happy, or like just a time to talk. One of my kids talks about everything to the point where you're like, too much. I don't want to know. And the other one is like nothing. And it was really good for both of them to come to this even place and where we could talk. And we never did that before as a whole family. We never would sit down.
New rituals, new traditions.
Yes. And a new opportunity to really like be vulnerable and to talk about our emotions. And that never was a thing. So that was a great part of the divorce.
Right.
The other great part I have to say is my children now have 2 more adults in their lives who are wonderful, solid humans that they can depend on because of our
village.
Yes. And I love that my children have Candace, and I know, and they have called on Leif when they've needed things. And that is pretty cool that they have 4 adults now.
Yes. And that is, again, a really significant and important paradigm shift, that we don't see the scarcity of the story, see the abundance of the story, and what can come as a result of what is a hard decision, what are dark days. But they don't last forever, right? It is temporary.
Yes.
It sucks. Let's be very clear. It's bathroom floor, crying your eyes out. Needing all the support in the community to lift us up and out. And it usually takes longer than we want and longer than we think it will. But you do get through it.
You get through it. And I journaled harder than I'd ever journaled. I really, it was soul searching and soul crushing and soul. I mean, I don't want to say it like this, but I feel like that who I was died. And then I was creating a new me and a new who I don't know who I am anymore without this person always by my side. We were always Matt and Aimee McQuilken,
Yep.
And I had to create my new self, and that does not come easy, but there is a process. It also shouldn't come easy. It shouldn't be like, okay, here I go. It's a process of just working through. And It's been a while since I thought about those days, Karen, and I didn't want to think about them for a while, and now I think back about them fondly because it was the process of becoming who I am now, and I living my life as a single woman, making my own decisions, having the means to. That was one of actually the first things. I was like, wait, Matt, we can't get a divorce. Like, how could we afford to buy a house or send our children to college or do all the things? But I've never been so financially sound as I have been as a single person.
Isn't that a surprise?
Love telling people that.
Yes.
I also love spreading out my time with multiple people. I have intentionally, with my repartnering, Leif and I see each other twice a week. And now that the kids are out of the house, there isn't a plan to move in with each other. We want to continue on with these independent lives. And I love that I can be like, well, I'm going to do this with you, but then there's these other friends I would like to do this with. And there's my family I want to do this with. And suddenly I'm like, a healthy partnership doesn't mean one partner. It's multiple partners.
Yes. And having space and intention to build that community for yourself.
And not feeling guilty for spending time with this person and not the other. It's amazing.
Aimee McQuilken, you are the poster child of the good divorce. You and Matt, just really honoring you, your family. And it is just such a gift for you to open your heart, all the pieces of the memories and the journey so that we can guide other people towards their own good divorce. And to our listeners out there, both Aimee and I reminding you, everything is going to be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it is not the end.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of The Good Divorce Show. We hope today's episode has helped you find a kinder, more sensible, and less expensive path through the divorce journey. Until we talk again, have a beautiful week.